So now that we've started to factor polynomials, we're now going to look, what if we have a coefficient out in front of the x squared? So this is now going to be factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. And we're going to take an approach of factor by grouping to find this. So if we start with this polynomial, what we did if there was no number here, or it's just a 1, is we figured out what we multiplied to get c to add to b, what two numbers we could use. We're going to do the same approach here now this time, but we need to find what we multiply to get to AC, so the A times C, that adds to B. Once we do that and we get those two numbers, we're then going to split B up into two terms. And then from there, do a process we call factor by grouping. But before we can do that, we need to start breaking it up into factors. So to avoid too many variables, let's just start with some basic examples. So 6x squared plus 23x plus 7. We're not going to say ways to multiply to 7 that add to 23 because we can't do that. You're not going to get something big enough. But this is why we multiply the two. So we're looking for a way to multiply to 42 that adds to 23. So 42, if I'm thinking of factors, I have 1 and 42, 2 and 21. We could do something like 6 and 7 as well. They have to add to 23. Those two look good. So it's not going to become x plus 2, x plus 21 like we would have done before. We're going to take these two numbers and split 23x into those two values because we know 23 is 2 plus 21. So this becomes 6x squared plus 2x plus 21x plus 7. This gives us four terms. If you're now looking at this, why did we split those up? Rewind this video 30 seconds and go back to why we split that up into these two terms. We have to split that to here. Now, we've split it into four terms. I'm now going to do something we call factor by grouping and factor each of these two sets of terms. So let's look at 6x squared plus 2x. Just focus there. I'm going to take out a 2x from both of them, and I'm left with 3x plus 1. If I come over here and 21x plus 7, I can factor out a, looks like 7 from both of those, and that leaves 3x plus 1. And now in both of these things, they have this part in common, 3x plus 1. That now gets taken out because it's in both, and what we're left with is 2x plus 7. Which has become the answer we were looking for, and this is the factor of 6x squared plus 23x plus 7. So it's not a clean, quick jump like we saw in the beginning factoring, and you might be kind of lost in the steps, but we're going to do the same process every time. Now, if I went back and checked, it went 3x plus 1 times 2x plus 7, I would get 6x squared, 2x, 21x, and 7, which gives me the same answer we started with. So it works when we reverse the process. So this is our answer. Let's do another one. Kind of work our way through building it up. So 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. First thing we look at is we need to multiply to 10. We need to add to 11. So what two numbers will do that? I see 10 and 1 as our good choice. So we're going to take 11x and split it into two parts. That's 10x and 1x, so we can just write an x. Now you may be thinking, does it matter which, if we wrote 1x then 10x or 10x then 1x? It doesn't matter. Either one, it's still going to get to the same steps. If you switched them now, your next step is going to look a little bit different than mine, but we still get to the same end result. So we factor now, first two terms, last two terms. So this I can take out a 5x here, left with x plus 2. Over here, well, it's already x plus 2. I can't do anything else to that. But now we look and we have the same things. There's both an x plus 2. Yes, you should have the same thing. If these are not the same, we did something wrong up above. We could put a 1 there because it is multiplied by 1, and that's going to help us now because we take out the x plus 2, and right what's left is 5x plus 1. So it's x plus 2, 5x plus 1. Let's go with the next one. Multiply the first two, the last one, the first one. I get multiplies to 12. and we add to -8. So let's see, multiply to a positive but add to a negative. They both have to be a negative. And so which two negatives could we pick? Let's go with things like -6, -2. Multiply to be a positive, add to be a negative. This is what -8x splits to be. So we'll go -6x minus 2x plus 3. First two terms, I factor out a 2x. Last two terms, I have 2x plus 3. Actually, it's a -2x. I'm going to take out a -1. So that makes this 2x minus 3. Now, why we need to do that is we need these two to match. And so by taking the negative out, we have matching terms. So this is going to be 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 1. We'll do two more. You're going to try some on your own. So we have 6 and 20. It means we multiply to get 120. And it needs to add to be -23. So I'm just going to write out some factors of 120. I got 1 and 120, 2 and 60, 3 and 40, 4 and 30. We could do 6 and 20, 8 and 15, 12 and 10. Okay, and I have some options. Maybe that's not the one we need, but we can work through these. Now, they need to multiply to a positive but add to a negative, so they could both be negative. So I need to find two numbers that would add to be 23, and I see these right here when they're negative. So a -8, -15 would work. So we're going to go 6r to the squared. That should be a squared, not to the third. 6r squared minus 8r minus 15r plus 20. First two terms, I can take out an r and a 2. So that leaves me with 3r minus 4. The next two, I can take out a -5. And that leaves me with 3r minus 4. These two come out. That becomes 3r minus 4. What's left is 2r minus 5. And we have our factors. Next we have 3x squared plus 4x minus 15. We're going to multiply the first and last term, and we get -45. And we're going to add to get +4. So we know it's a plus and a negative, because we have a negative as a product, and it's got to be a positive. So this is going to be the bigger, because it's going to add to be 4 bigger. So what can I multiply to get 45 that are 4 apart? Well, 45 is 3 and 15, so it's not those two. 9 and 5, though, are 4 apart. So one's positive, one's negative. To get a +4, we're going to have to go 9 and -5. So this is what we use our strength for, to split 4x into a plus 9x and a minus 5x. Factor the first two, I take out a 3x and left with x plus 3. Factor out a -5 and I'm left with x plus 3. These two terms come out, x plus 3, and we're left with 3x minus 5. So at this point, if you're understanding it, I want you to go further and try the rest of them. Try those, see what you can do, and then you can go to part 2 and watch and check your answers on them.